is once again back in session for the 184th time. This is the Grunge Bible Podcast, and there is no appeal on the docket today. My name is Chris Salona, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Ethan Shalloway, who I will be seeing later today. That's right. We've got some big things coming. Major announcement on the way. Ethan, how are you doing today on episode 184 of the GB Pod?
I'm doing well. Absolutely, really well. Energy levels are high, as I like to say. Yeah, this is a special time at the end of September. September is, I think, well documented as my favorite month for plenty of reasons. The NFL is back to school feels. I feel like it's maybe the most nostalgic month because of that. Usually, I'm visiting home in the last 10 years when I didn't live at home, and usually I'm going on trips or something. This is the second time that me and you are going to go on a trip for our birthday weekend. And it's pretty sweet. I think it's becoming a tradition that we spend our birthdays together, which is not a bad thing. So I like the way everything is trending right now. And yeah, we got an exciting week and a half ahead of us.
Absolutely. Yeah, we sure do. And, all of those bullet points that you mentioned about September, you're checking them all off this year, which is pretty great. We've got a little bit of everything. But as you said, we are going to be spending our birthdays together. So this episode will come out a couple days after our birthday on the 30th. But I turned 28 on the 28th and you turned 30 on the 28th. And we'll be celebrating it in the lovely land of Los Angeles, California. And then by the time this episode comes out, we'll be going to Arizona for some relaxation, some chilling, some camping, some hiking, all that good stuff. But naturally, in true fashion, we are recording this about 90 minutes before I have to go and leave for the airport to fly to LA. So it's the last piece of work that I need to get down on the ground here on the East Coast. So this is just how we do it. We save things for the last possible moment and we get them done, and it's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, this is the only way that we could properly do this. So
it's
this last second. It's not last second. We could have done it, and maybe we will be able to record one in person, but we didn't want to be tied to the idea. So it just just makes sense. We both have the morning here available. So
here's the thing.
Let's do a podcast.
The long and the short of it is that we do like doing the podcast. We've been doing it for a long time, but there's just something about the podcast would have had the ability to be quite the punisher of the moment. When we get out there, and if we're having a good time and we're doing stuff, we want to be outside. The last thing we probably want to do is sit down for a couple of hours and do a podcast inside. But if it happens, it happens. But it's nice to not have that, hanging over our shoulders as we head out there. So we're
getting the homework done before,
before we get to go play outside. Exactly. Yeah, we got that homework today. It's not due for a couple more days, but we're just going to get it done so we can have our time to relax. As we move forward on this episode 184, as I said, coming out on September 30th, there are some people we want to thank that allow us to continue to do this show here well into the 180s now. And those would be anybody that supports us by listening to us, sharing us with any of their friends or colleagues or acquaintances. But most importantly, the people that give us the money because we need money. And it's it's a fleeting commodity these days.
Now obviously. More than ever.
Yeah, now more than ever, we do need money. So there is a open offer out there that if you join the Patreon after this episode comes out, we will contact you and we will do an episode about anything that you want. And I cannot specify and emphasize more that we will do an episode on anything. We've had a couple of requests and they've been pretty tame. Not a bad thing, obviously. They were kind of right in our wheelhouse, but we're willing to get out there, get out of our comfort zone. So if you've been listening for a while and you like it, I think you should. You owe it to us to join the Patreon at the $2, $5, or $10 tier. $2 a month, not a lot of money. $10 a month, really not a ton of money if you think about it. So we're looking forward to reading some email notifications about some new members of the Patreon. But at this time, I would like to thank the members of the top tier who give us $10 a month and really pull all the weight to make this show possible. So I would like to thank D-Boat, Corden Stewart, Kara K, Black Hole Sean, Doug Endy, Down in the Hole Flat Out Fucked, Epona, Fuck Soup, Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce, Granny Grunge, Gochu John, Jade Mercado, Carlene Salona, Jamie Lynn, Keith White, King Buzzo Stole My Hair, Millie, Nikki Six, Pile of Punk, Russell, Sherry Matthews, Seattle 4 fanboy from New Jersey, and What the Fuck is Up, Denny's? And what the fuck is up, Denny's, man? I'm fired up. I'm excited.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's great, man. It just, we need more, we need more supporters. It's just that people are supporting everything out there. So why not support the Grunge Bible podcast?
Yeah, we are simultaneously thankful and yearning.
Right.
We're kind of threading that needle right there, but you can be both at the same time.
We're like politicians.
Exactly. We're everything that we say, but don't believe any of it.
We have a plan, but that's for later.
Oh yeah.
We need your money first, then we'll tell you the plan.
Yeah, exactly. We've got concepts of a plan.
There's big plans coming.
Oh yeah.
There's maps in our room. So basically, today we are going to talk about this day in music, which last week we actually dropped the ball on something.
We did. I'm shocked we've dropped the ball with something relating to this podcast, Ethan.
Especially, well, I sense some sarcasm there, but. Especially because we reissued an episode from last year at this time when we did the first ever This Day in Music.
Right.
And yeah, we just missed over it. So This Day in Music last week, we could have did last year when the Grunge Ball podcast had the first This Day in Music.
Yeah.
So we've been doing it for a year. And I think it's been a good addition.
I think so too. It's always I enjoy talking about these things. It gives us an opportunity to talk about things that we otherwise wouldn't, and it just it's provided a lot of kind of running gags here on the show. We always get to shit on the Beatles pretty much every single week, which is great. So I mean, it's the gift that keeps on giving, and I learn a little bit along the way too, which is helpful, and it's stimulating to my brain because it's certainly getting smaller as the years go on. So I just need to really
brain.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm getting dumber.
Do brains shrink?
I mean, they probably can. I mean,
it is a muscle.
RFK Jr. has a worm in his brain. That worm probably got a little hungry at some point and like chomped away a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it's.
I mean, it makes sense. If, like I said, it is a muscle, and you need to work it out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems that anytime I do This Day in Music, I find myself in a conversation later where I can bring up a random fact that I now know and talk about, and it helps my conversation throughout the day. So if nothing else, good conversation starters for that day and that week.
Absolutely.
So let's get into some of the things that happened this day. So you guys are all equipped for the rest of the day and the rest of the week. And this is a good one. There's actually a pretty decent lineup, I think, of people that are notable.
Solid lineup.
So this day, September 30th, in 1964, the great Trey Anastasio was born of Fish.
And the big 6-0 today.
The big 6-0. He was born in 64. I think Fish became a band in, 83. So he was 19 years old when he
They've been around for that long?
Yeah, the band's 41 years old.
Oh
I know.
My goodness! I thought that they.
I had no idea, right?
I figured they would have come around in like 95 or something. 1983 though, that's impressive.
Yeah. Wow. Let's see when let's look up when the first album came out, because like I said, they were 19, he was 19.
1989, they released their first album.
Yeah.
So like 6 years of just vibing. I like that.
Jamming, working out the kinks.
Yeah, not vibing.
Yeah. So Trey Anastasio, man, I definitely Fish. Like my cousins are huge. My cousins are huge Fish fans. I've seen Trey play once. I have not seen Fish play. It was a TSA band, Trey Anastasio band. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I think I've gotten a big appreciation for Fish over the years. They're still, I don't know. It's Fish. Yeah,
I mean,
you
it
like him,
is
you love him or you hate him.
exactly. Happy birthday, Trey Anastasio. Let's kick it forward a couple of decades here. And this is, the first one was in your wheelhouse, and this is firmly in my wheelhouse. I mean, this is
Oh
this
yeah.
is the equivalent of like, I'm at the plate and I get a nice fastball that's running straight and coming middle in. You can really turn on that sucker and do something with it.
You're hitting off of the positional players like
Yeah,
Shohei.
exactly. Yeah, you get something nice and easy coming in, just hit an absolute piss missile. So on this day in 1982, Bruce Springsteen releases his album Nebraska, really one of his more critically acclaimed albums. And there's some really, really fantastic lore behind this one. So he was, I think he was renting basically a farmhouse, kind of in like rural New Jersey at the time. And he had recorded a bunch of these demos on a 4-track tape machine that he had. And the intention was to take these demos and go to the band, the E Street Band, and put this together as the next Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band album. And they had taken that. Bruce had written all this stuff, and they took it and they recorded it. But Bruce decided that the demos from the 4-track was the purest representation of what he had created, and that was released. So somewhere out there, I believe, still in the E Street vault, there is the I think they call it the Electric Nebraska album, but it's yet to be revealed. I'd love to hear that someday, but this one is absolutely incredible. A lot of the themes I think that Bruce spends a lot of time with as his career goes on, a lot of just kind of rural areas, weaving stories just about sacrifice, love, hate, just all of the human conditions here present on this album. And it's certainly one of my favorites, and this is one it's aged beautifully. There was just a book that came out I think 2 years ago for the 40th anniversary of it, that really dives into this one quite a bit. I haven't read it yet. I think it's called Deliver Me From Nowhere, but fantastic album. And I think it's an essential listen for anybody who likes music and likes storytelling through song. So really, really great album anniversary for that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Maybe we'll be listening to some Nebraska on the trip this
Oh
week.
yeah. I think it could fit. Yeah, that one, and then Ghost of Tom Joad, which he wrote, which is, in my opinion, it's kind of like a return to the same vibe I think that Nebraska has. He released Ghost of Tom Joad in the mid '90s, and it's a lot about the American Southwest. So that one could hit pretty well
We'll have to break out the old playlist that we made last year.
Oh,
that the people helped make.
Absolutely. Excellent. So let's move forward here. Ethan, I'll tee this one up for you. You got a fastball coming in over the heart of the plate. Let's see what we can do with it.
In 1984, T-Pain, the rapper, was born. And this is great. So he's turning 40, and which is, pretty big deal, pretty big decade. I'm turning 30, not as big as 40, I guess. And T-Pain, buy you a drink in the original Auto-Tune, man.
Bartender, man.
Yeah, like the fact that he's credited for Auto-Tune. I think I remember him saying his dad always told him that his voice was an instrument. Have gotten effects over the years. And what are your takes on Auto-Tune, Chris?
I used to always think that it didn't have a place, and I thought it was dumb, and I thought it was kind of a something to correct imperfections. But I don't know. I mean, I kind of vibe with it. It's fine in different settings, and it can be employed well. I mean, look at T-Pain, for example. I mean, as popular as he is, but I will tell you, I don't know if you've ever heard T-Pain sing. Like sans Auto-Tune, he has an incredible voice. He did a couple of years ago, there were some videos going around on Twitter of him singing, I think like Tennessee Whiskey, and then like another song, and he's absolutely unbelievable.
He's very talented. Yeah, I've seen like some videos of him performing, and like he dances, and like looks like a really great performer. And I was like, dang, I would actually love to go see a T-Pain show.
Yeah, and I would say I think a lot of people hold, in my opinion, it's the wrong conception that anybody who uses Auto-Tune doesn't have talent. I don't think that's true at all. I don't know. It's just another it's another form of expression, I suppose. But yeah, you won't find me crusading against Auto-Tune anytime.
Yeah, it's one of those things when it first came out and being used widely, probably was a little polarizing. But as time moves on, it's like, you don't love at times they're just like, yeah, they didn't need to do that. But at other times it's like, okay, that was pretty unique and cool. And yeah, it's just another modification to
Yeah.
the
Well, I
song.
suppose
And
like you can use it for correction of imperfections, or you can use it as like the form of delivery, as T-Pain did frequently. So I mean, I guess you could have different opinions depending on how it's used, but no, I don't really have an issue with it.
yeah, it's win for auto tune today, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, big win. You weren't expecting that one on episode 184 of the GB Pod. Something else you may not have been. I can't really imagine people will feel strongly about this next one way or the other. But on this day in 1989, Neil Young performs "Rockin' in the Free World" on Saturday Night Live. Epic song, one of the most misunderstood songs, I would say, right up there with I'd say "Born in the USA," Springsteen, and some other ones. "Fortunate Son" for sure. There's a lot of from the wheelhouse of rock and roll songs that have been misunderstood. But this one's great, obviously. It's Uncle Neil just playing heavy with the crazy horse. Pearl Jam covers this one quite frequently to as a part of their closing trio, usually of Alive, this one, and then maybe Ledbetter or something. But really, really great song, and I'm going to have to go back and give that SNL performance a view.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So in 2010, after 10 years, first ever John Lennon Museum closes. Sad. Poor John Lennon. Located outside of Tokyo, it shuts down because Yoko Ono wants Lennon's spirit to remain in motion, saying if the museum, which houses his spirit, never moved, it would be a grave, not a museum. Interesting take. Very interesting take, actually. But so they didn't relocate it. I guess they just closed it, or they probably did relocate it.
I think some of the stuff in it has been traveling since then, so it has remained, I guess, not a grave.
What's wrong with the grave? First off, people pay homage to gravestones all the time.
All the time.
It's like a respect.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really. I can see where Yoko's coming from on this one. Like, I get it, but I don't know. I just feel I don't know. But then again, like it's not my husband. So
do we get it? Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like people want statues. Are they just gonna like break down the Kobe statue in 20 years because they don't want it to be a grave?
That, but like here's the thing too. Like anybody who has an issue with graves. Has to be somebody who's well-to-do or somebody who's famous. Like, could you imagine like Jim Smith passes away and his widow Edith is like, no, like we're not doing the grave thing. Like we're just gonna like travel around with him to keep.
Yeah, there's obviously cremation. Like,
right.
Donnie was cremated, and his ashes were spread across the sea-bearing
the beaches areas of Southern California.
Yeah, but like.
He's a good bowler and a good man.
It seems a little dramatic to shut down something that probably put a lot of work into it. But
yeah.
Hey, if it is a traveling museum,
Lennon and Ono really, I think, cornered the market in a lot of ways on being dramatic about various things. Right. So this is the equivalent of like a 90 mile an hour fastball middle in for Yoko Ono, I would say. So I'm not really surprised.
It was an obvious choice for her to do this.
Yeah, I mean, like you get that pitch and like you're not going to miss it. Like like the best in their craft don't miss when they get their pitch. So like Barry Bonds isn't going to turn over that pitch to second, or he's going to hit that in McCovey Cove. Yoko Ono is going to take this opportunity and run with it. So I don't know. Who's to say what? I didn't do enough research to know where the artifacts in the Lennon Museum have gallivanted off to. Yeah, and that's fine. I can't imagine. I wouldn't expect more information from the Grunge Bible podcast on this in the future.
Yeah, we're here for chapter 1. You finish the rest. You guys go and do whatever research you needed.
Exactly. Yeah, and like all good teachers do, you get them started, and a good teacher teaches people.
And you cut them loose.
Yeah, there's like that quote about it's something I'm gonna butcher it to all hell, but there's something about how like good teachers don't teach their subjects about the ocean. They teach them to yearn for the seas, and that's what we're doing here. Like we're not giving you the X's and O's. We're giving you the spirit to go out there and search for yourself. So, and it gets us off the hook too.
I feel like I had a teacher in high school that we'd always like talk, do stuff, and they'd be like, all right, and after this, I'm going to cut you loose, and then you're going to have like 25 minutes to like work on the problems or do whatever. And
Oh yeah.
what a great strategy to just have some quiet time by putting the kids to work. Just be like, I'm not going to teach you guys, start work. I'm going to cut you loose.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. I've got the quote. If you want to build a ship, drum up. Oh, excuse me. If you want to build a ship, don't drum up the men to gather wood, divide the work, and give orders. Instead, teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea. And that's attributed to a man. I'm going to butcher this as well. Antoine de Saint-Exupéry.
I love it.
The Frenchman, I suppose. But yeah, teach them to yearn for the sea. So that's what we're doing here. And that's This Day in Music.
Yes.
What a lineup.
That's awesome. That's a great quote to finish it up too.
That is pretty great.
Did it have the date of when that quote was
I can't imagine invented? I can't imagine it's a contemporary quote. It sounds like something that was said hundreds of years ago. Yeah,
which is awesome.
That's something else you're going to have to go out there and explore for yourself. We're giving you the yearning for that quote.
Not a problem. So, yeah, that wraps up This Day in Music. Happy 1 year anniversary to the segment, and it's like PTI. Hopefully, we're just building segments that we can just have a lineup and just run through.
Oh yeah,
one day. So for today's episode, we are going to kind of talk about a few concerts that we went to recently. Primarily, Chris had saw Pearl Jam last week in Boston at Fenway Park, which is huge. Boston. And then, I saw another show that it's just interesting to talk about. If there was a rapper, so it'll be a good dichotomy of, I haven't been to a rap show, so it was kind of the first one, and I have opinions on it, I guess. And then maybe we'll talk a little bit more about some plans and our birthday, just getting older. We'll see.
Just riffing on that. Absolutely.
So why don't we start? So Chris, this was your third time seeing Pearl Jam, second time at Fenway Park.
Yes.
Which, they pretty much play all the big, they play the stadiums and the arenas. So that's, I guess we're gonna have some overlap every time we see them nowadays.
Right.
What did they open with?
Dude, they opened with Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in the small town. The set list was really, really great. So I had been following their set lists kind of for the tour. And I would say this Pearl Jam show, I didn't have as much anticipation for it as I did the first two, especially the first one that we saw 8 years ago at Fenway, just because that was really when we were in the initial throes of the love of grunge. But, we're quite a bit older now. The band's older. Our lives have changed. And I was looking forward to it, but it was just kind of like, oh, yeah, like I'm doing that on Tuesday, so I'll just go and do that. But I'll tell you, man, I'm back. I am back with Pearl Jam. I fell in love with them all over again as if it was the first time. And the set list was great. The band was fantastic. And it's just a special environment, that we had swooned over in 2016 and 2018 when we saw them together those two times. And it just like all of those feelings that I had about the band when I first fell in love with them and when we were first discovering their music, and I think in a lot of ways using their songs as a lighthouse of to navigate our lives and who we wanted to be in the future. And at the time it really felt like music that mattered and it was saying something, and all of those emotions came back in a way that I really wasn't prepared for, through the set list, through the environment, as I said. So just to kind of go through the set list here a little bit, they played 29 songs, which was absolutely powerhouse show. I think quite a bit longer than some of their set lists that they had done earlier on in the tour. I'd seen 24 songs, 26 songs, but I'd only seen one 29 and up, and that was the one that I saw. Hammering the hits, man. Just some highlights here. You had Elderly Woman, right into Even Flow, into Daughter. Animal was the fourth song. I'll just run through them real quick. I might as well.
Cheer 29. It's like the Patreon list.
Exactly. So after Animal, we had Save You, Immortality, Corduroy, React, Respond. I took a piss break during that one.
Nice. The Run P
I
app
need,
said that
I
was a
needed
good
it.
break
Yeah, because
time.
well, I mean, you go to the stadiums and they give you those like 25-ounce beers. You know, so you get a couple of those, and you had some beforehand. You gotta go. So I timed it perfectly.
So
Just
you
during
knew it was coming, or you heard the first note and you're like, all right,
I
this
heard
is I
React
gotta go.
respond, and I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to miss what's coming, and I would feel okay missing this one, so I took my chance. Then we went into Running, Not For You, Wreckage,
Nice.
Untitled, Present Tense, Won't Tell, the tour debut of Super Blood Wolf Moon. Then we had then we had Once Black, Fucking Up, the Neil Young cover in Porch, and then they kind of do that thing where they take a couple of minutes around, usually after Porch. I think always after Porch, and then they regroup. And Ed does some solo stuff, and he did a cover of "I Am a Patriot," and then he did "Falling Slowly" with Glenn Hansard, who was opening much of this tour, and that was incredible. And the ending was just fantastic. After that, we went to Why Go, Waiting for Stevie, which was huge. That was a crowd request, I believe. Crazy Mary, Unthought Known, your favorite Pearl Jam song, Do the Evolution, and then the closing trio of Alive, Baba O'Reilly, and Yellow Ledbetter.
Baba O'Reilly, incredible.
Yeah, man.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Wait, what did you say was the last one?
Yellow Ledbetter.
Yeah, Ledbetter.
Yeah.
Nice. That's that's quite the lineup.
It was great, man. Ed sounds fantastic. Like, I really couldn't tell much of a difference between his performances this time around as opposed to when we saw them 6 years ago or 8 years ago. And I mean, he's turning 60 this year, and his voice has aged a lot better than I think anybody maybe would have thought, 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago. Really impressive. Mike McCready was absolutely on fire during this show. And there were a few songs, just like one after another, where he just had like 4 or 5 minutes of soloing, and he was just absolutely on fire. Matt Cameron was holding down. Really, the whole band was great. I kind of different songs. I took different opportunities to focus on, the various members of the group, and it was just so impressive. And you had a lot of it. You're laughing, you're smiling, like your mouth opens when you're just watching all of this. You tear up a little bit. I teared up. I got emotional at one point in the show, which because I wasn't anticipating a whole lot relative to the other times I've seen them. I was caught off guard by how quickly and how definitively I was thrown back into the emotional love affair that I think a lot of us have or have had with this band, and it was a really, 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 really special night.
Did you say did they play Release?
No, they didn't play. They played it the first night at Fenway, and I saw them the next show, so I knew we weren't getting Release. But
that was the one that Eddie Vedder got me through my second divorce. Was hoping to hear, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. So I was hoping to hear that one. I knew when they played it on Sunday that they weren't going to play it at my show on Tuesday. But there were some that that I hadn't. I don't think I had ever heard Immortality live, and when I got emotional, it was during Untitled and then Present Tense. Like, they went one to the other. And before Untitled, Ed had kind of spoken about there was this security guard who was basically, he worked for this like concert. Yeah, he worked for this concert security organization that I guess had done many of the Pearl Jam shows, in the area and in the state for the last, dozen or so on years. And Ed had become friendly with him. And when he came back this time around, he was asking, different guys like, oh, like, hey, I think his name was Dick. He's like, where's Dick? And they directed him to, kind of the spot where Dick would normally stand. And there was a chair, and it had somebody had taken a piece of paper and taped it to it. And it was a thoughtful tribute to him, about how, like, we're going to carry him, where he would normally be, even though he's no longer with us. And then they went into Untitled, and that's a song that I really love too, and Present Tense as well. And yeah, I teared up a little bit, thinking about, that beautiful tribute and just kind of my relationship with the band too, and how they've gotten me through a lot of different things and, periods of loss and sadness and whatnot. And it hit me kind of hard. in a way that I said, I wasn't really expecting. And, so you had that, and you had, once again, McCready during Black and fucking up. You had some Stone solos in there as well, which was great. And I was so happy to get Waiting for Stevie. And if I remember correctly, somebody was holding up a sign for that. And Ed was like, gesturing to the person with the sign. He's like, this person's been here for, a bunch of different shows lately, and he's been holding up this sign. So like, we're going to give it to him. This one's for him. And they played
That's
that,
awesome.
which is my favorite one off of Dark Matter. So I was happy to get that. And, dude, Unthought Known hit me pretty hard too. You had Boom just hammering away on the keys, which was fantastic. And Do the Evolution was sick, believe it or not. And then the closing trio of Alive, Baba, and Yellow Ledbetter is like firmly in like the gratitude stage of the show. They turn the lights on, everybody's singing, and you just kind of, that the show's ending because they're into that part, those last few songs, and you're just kind of really, really happy about what you were able to be present for. And yeah, man, it was a lot. It was really, really, really special. And I'm really happy that I was able to see it.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a really solid show. I mean, 29 songs is quite the list. And
Yeah.
So it looks like they still got a lot more in them.
Yeah, I would say, people have made a big deal about, I think post COVID, they've tightened up their set list a little bit. They don't play for the 3 hours that they used to, but I think this one was like 2.5 hours. So they still have their fastball, to use the analogy that I've been rolling with. And it's not meat over the middle of the plate. I mean, it is like, it's high cheese, triple digits, like they're painting the corners. And you can't hit their fastball. And then they've got a tremendous slider that just falls away into your back foot, and it was there over the plate, and then 1 second it's not. I mean, they're still unbelievably talented, and somehow, like, I think they're still getting better as they get older, and it's just the magic is still there. And a lot of people be like, oh, they haven't done anything good since '92 or whatever, they suck now, and it's just a cash grab. But like, I don't feel that way. It was still a joyful experience, a heavy experience, and it was really cool. Just kind of, I'd posted about it afterwards, just like a brief recap, and there were a bunch of people that followed the page that were there, and all of them said the same thing. A couple guys who were like, yeah, like I first started going to Pearl Jam shows in '94, and this time around, like I was able to bring my kids, and they're 12 and 13 now, and I was introducing them to something that was so special to me, and that's what it's all about. Like this stuff, like it matters just as much, and maybe perhaps more, the older we get, and as the way our lives change, and the song's meanings can kind of take on a different level of impact. And I did also have, before the show, I was sitting there, I posted on the story that I was there, and I posted a picture from my seat, and I just posted a story. It was like about that time or something, and a couple minutes later somebody came down. I felt a tap on my shoulder. This kid, probably about my age, maybe a little younger, he's like, yo, are you Grunge Bible? I was like, yeah, man, that's me. He's like, dude, I fucking love the page. Good to meet you. So that was pretty funny. Yeah. It was pretty great. Yeah, it was funny.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and then afterwards, it's just a cool community, man. Like the page and Pearl Jam, because I'd say without Pearl Jam, I don't think the page exists. So it was kind of, it was a cool feeling to return to, the scene of the crime. I guess one way to put it.
Yeah, the roots and the bones of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm jealous when you told me you were going. And yeah, it was one of those things where you kind of bought the tickets the week before. It was like the buildup was quick. It wasn't like, oh, I need to do a big travel. It just kind of like,
I was so
it's right
busy
there.
too. I was so busy at the time, like my summer's I've been all over the place, and I just I didn't have like the stationary time to anticipate it as much as certainly we had the first couple of shows that we went to. But it was just as special, and it kind of reminded me, I think how much this music in particular matters to me. And
so did you say your favorite song? Did you have a favorite? Did you say it was present tense and untitled?
Man, yeah,
or
it was definitely that section. It was untitled and present tense. Those are my favorites from the night. I do love uh, a couple songs before they did those two. They played "Not for You," and usually at the end, they'll like tag like a section of another song at the end after "Not for You" ends. And they did they tagged "Modern Girl" by Slater-Kinney, which they did that when we saw them at Wrigley in 2018. And I've always really liked that section, or that choice that they do. And it's like the section of the song that they tag, it's just Ed with his guitar, and he's singing "My Whole Life was like a picture on a sunny day," and he just repeats that like 4 or 5 times. It's the chorus of that Slater-Kinney song. And that was another moment where I was, they were really buttering me up for the tears, and then I had Wreckage, and then right into the part where I cried. So it was they knew what they were doing. I'm very happy that I saw "Waiting for Stevie" as well, it being my favorite song off the new album. And anytime you can get Ledbetter is something that's really special to me too. So yeah, it was all great. It was a great show, and certainly one that I'll always remember. Add it to the memory bank.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were your seats better than the first time we saw them?
Yeah, they were. I would say they were the best seats out of the 3 times. I remember the first time we were like 3 rows from the back, like in the grandstand at Fenway. And when you go to Fenway, if you're in the grandstand and you have like the second deck over top of you, like the sound isn't quite as good, just because you get a little bit of vibration being underneath there. But we were maybe like a section back from the third base dugout, so definitely better seats. I think they're like the video boards are better this time around than the first 2 times we saw them. So that was obviously helpful because it was a little hard to, like, you couldn't see any of the details from where I was at, but I didn't enjoy it any less. And yeah, good seats. It was a beautiful night. Clear skies, big moon, full moon. I think that had a lot to do with the choice of Super Blood Wolf Moon making its way into the set list. But man, it was great. And I posted the set list, and like a lot of people reach out and be like, "Yeah, man, like I've been following the tour probably a lot better closely than I have," and they said it was their favorite set list of the tour, the best one for whatever that's worth. And yeah, it was special. I feel like a couple cities that Pearl Jam play, like Chicago and Boston, whenever they play at Fenway and Wrigley Field, like they just seem to bring it. I think the first 2 times we saw them, they brought it in a big way, and they're still doing that. You could tell that this one meant a lot to them, and also too, I mean, they're getting old. I mean, they don't tour every year anymore, really. And I mean, they toured in 2018. They didn't do like a full scale tour until 2022 after COVID, in the States at least. And, you just you never know how many more opportunities you'll have for them, to tour or to tour, in a city near you. I remember 2022, we had tried to get tickets, I think, to Nashville or Colorado, and like we didn't get them. So we didn't end up going. So, yeah, it's just cool. You never really know how many opportunities you'll get to be in that environment. So glad to have had the chance and taken it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously you play different venues, and there's a different feel for every venue. And obviously you've seen them in 2 baseball parks. And I'm wondering, like, I of course everybody wants to see them in a smaller inside venue, but like, haven't seen him in an inside venue yet. Like, wonder if that opportunity presents itself, like how much different that would be. And like, I'm just thinking about the different, or, he has his own festival, the Ohana Festival,
right?
Like seeing him there, the different type of setting, how that influences like the whole mood, because the ballpark arena show is, it's set up for Pro Jam now, but like, it's set up a certain way. So it'd be kind of cool to see him in a different setting. Just for contrast purposes, just for historical purposes for us, personal reasons.
Yeah, and with the 2 places that we've seen him, I mean, like Ed's a big baseball guy. He grew up going to Cubs games, and
did he wear a jersey?
He wore. I think most of the tour he's been wearing his Walter Payton jersey, so he wore that, and then towards the end he put on a David Ortiz blue Red Sox jersey. So that was great, and then naturally for the last 3 songs he had the batting helmet on, like the Nacho helmet, the Red Sox one. That was pretty great. But I mean, like, there's just I think there's something about those 2 venues that we've seen them at. that like they mean so much to Ed. And you know, when I saw him last Tuesday at Fenway again, you know, multiple times he was speaking about how sacred of a ground, you know, Fenway Park is. And you know, when he was a kid, some of his first baseball memories were watching the Red Sox and the Cincinnati Reds in
Yeah.
the '75 World Series. And you could tell it just means a lot to him. So I think he kind of digs a little deeper, maybe at those shows perhaps than he would playing like the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or something. You know, with all due respect to the lovely citizens of Tulsa, but it's definitely, you know, I don't think you're ever going to be disappointed when you see him in certainly I'd say Seattle, Chicago, or Boston.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty spectacular. It would be fun to, yeah. Now I want to see him again. You know,
Yeah,
I get the
I was
bug.
going to say
I heard
next.
about it, I was like, dang.
Like God willing, they tour again. Like we got to go together. We got to get back, and I think it would be really cool and special for us to see them together, because you know, I'm kind of in awe of like how, as I have said 6 times already, how those emotions came back, and I know they would for you. It would be cool to kind of experience that together, given how important this band is to our friendship. Obviously,
They just need to play in Los Angeles at the Kia Forum next year or definitely in 2 years for your 30th birthday.
Exactly, man. Yeah. So fingers
Yes.
crossed for that. Hopefully we can make that happen in the future. But yeah, man, 10 out of 10. Once again, the guys have done it. So that was really special.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I was definitely jealous when I heard it. I was like, this is great. Really happy you got to go. And yeah, man, it's good. It's always good to rack up the concerts when you can. And we've been doing that for sure.
Yes, we have. Yeah. I mean, also, I think a couple weeks ago, I saw the Front Bottoms again. And we're going to be seeing Goose here in a few days out in Los Angeles. Yeah. And I'll be seeing.
Yeah, I really wanted to do. We'll see if we get to do a something in person. But I was hoping to be able to see that show and then talk about it. It's a reaction, because that'll be really fun. It's always fun to talk about you know, shared experiences, because then we were there with each other when it happened. So it's easier to kind of have that conversation like we did 2 years ago with the Taylor Hawkins show. So we'll, you know, look for that. I'm very excited for that, because I think the venue, it's kind of a, you know, the Grief Theater is a Red Rocks type of, you know, venue, or a gorge type of venue, and it's an outside amphitheater, and you know, it's just gonna be beautiful scenery. So I feel like those, you know, and it's a Friday night show, so like, you know, it just seems like magic is in the air, you know. Not that weekday shows are, but I've seen, so in Birmingham, we're just kind of a I don't know, passing through state for the tours. Like all the shows are Monday through Friday. Like
the worst,
never,
man.
Yeah, never seem to get like the headlining Saturday, Sunday show. It's always like, oh, this band is coming. I really want to see them, but it's like a Wednesday night. I'm like, well, here comes a decision, and I end up always going. And you know, it's always it's a weekday. It's a school night. You know, it's tough. But yeah, not the big cities, not LA. Those are always the weekends. I mean, they have everything. So
yeah, dude.
Yeah, I saw Young Gravy on last Tuesday when you were at Pearl Jam. There was somebody else that was at a show.
Man.
The Duality of Man. There was somebody else that was seeing a show. Maybe it was Sam Culp or something. And I was like, oh no, my cousin saw War on Drugs.
Oh, okay.
They came to Philly. I'm like, man, it seemed like a big concert. I had a lot of shows going. A lot of people were at shows that I knew. But yeah, I saw it was a rapper, and he has some good recorded songs I like, you know. But I will say, you know, I've always kind of wondered, like, I've kind of always been weary on the idea of like a person singing to tracks.
Right.
And have you ever seen a rapper like that?
I never have. Nope.
And so obviously, when you get to like the really big stages, like Travis Scott or whatever, like their concerts, like there's a big production value that goes in, which I think, you know, there's a level of concert that you see like Kanye's stuff that he did in China or wherever. It is just ridiculous, like Super Bowl-esque type setups. Yeah, which like that is, I really haven't been to something like that actually. Now I think about it, which it would be cool to go to something like that. You know, like, I mean, sure, Taylor Swift, I mean, that's more of a band, but the way her concerts, like, they're just massive.
Right.
MGK, you know, rock bands don't really do this because they have a band to be the entertainment. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
Young Gravy. This I'll keep it short, but it was like he didn't have the energy that I was expecting for like vocally, and it just like seemed to fall flat on its face. I was like, nah, I'm just wasn't really. I wanted to leave early. I had to pack. I was leaving the next morning, and I was like, man, this is definitely like I felt like it had to be a weekend. It had to be like the crowd had to be a little more rowdy. It's kind of a younger crowd. Just was like just kind of missed. And
Yeah.
so I'm very weary about seeing like because with the band you have a band to rely on. As long as some like one or a couple other people are bringing it, it's easy. Like this one, you just got like turn up the volume or something.
Oh
So
yeah.
I don't know. It was an interesting experience, but I wanted to have that experience and have some knowledge around the now I can talk about it. So that's important. That's important in life to be able to talk
Oh
about
yeah.
stuff. Good banter. That's pretty much it. I don't. There's not too much more to say about it. Other than you were seeing Pearl Jam and I had to see Young Gravy.
The mighty Young Gravy. No, man, you
Mm-hmm.
gotta live music, live art is always worth checking out for sure.
So, last thing we'll talk about, and I'm going to do songs of the week, but as we do talk about on the show, our birthdays. And, it's one of those things, I think when you're young, obviously you talk about your birthday a lot and it's okay because you turn at 8, you turn at 16 or whatever, you're a kid. Um, but, because our birthdays are shared and I mean, we run the page, so it just seems like I don't know, it's kind of cool. We talk about it a lot, and I like it. I actually think that birthdays, like, you get one a year. Like, have a special day. Like, if your friend has a birthday, like, do something special for them. Don't go like, oh, it's just another year, it's just another birthday. Like, if your friend's having a birthday or significant other, like, do something special. Get them a gift. Get them a thoughtful gift. Make it like unique. And I just think it's really important to take the time to
Yeah.
do something cool because why not? I mean, it's just life is short, and there's so many days throughout the years that are not exciting. So you have a chance to like celebrate yourself or somebody that you like, are really close to, and do it. So that's what we like to do here. We like to talk about the birthdays and I don't know, there's like kind of, the beginning of the school year when we first met and stuff. And it was like, we got to spend the time together. So I don't know, birthdays are still in for me. Like, I don't care how old I am. I want to have a birthday party type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, like when you're a kid, it takes so much longer for your birthday to arrive each year.
Of course.
There was a really funny tweet I saw a couple days ago where it was like somebody was like, yeah, I was like talking to my 7-year old and their birthday is on December 31st, and they were saying how their birthday takes so long to arrive. And I was like, no, like everybody's birthday takes the same amount of time to arrive. But he's like, I kind of understood what they were saying because it's the end of the year. And even just when you're young, there's so much anticipation to it. And then life gets busier, obviously. And I've kind of done like a 180 on birthdays where like, when you're a kid, you love them. And it's like, oh, like who gives a shit? Like I'm turning 17 or I'm turning 23. Like it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I agree with you, man. Like they're important. And, if people in your life are having a birthday, everybody only gets one, obviously, as you said. And I think the most special thing you can do is like give your time, because that's the one thing, the older you get, the less of it you have to give. So if you can just be intentional with your time and spend time with people, make them feel special through experiences or through a thoughtful gift, as you said, or always like, I'm always a big happy birthday wisher. Like, even people that, you gotta let them know, like you're thinking of them because it's a special day for them. And, yeah, they're cool. And it's always a good time to reflect, especially for you, man. I mean, you got the big 3-0 coming up, and that's a
Hmm.
pretty big one.
It is. Yeah. And you turn 28, the golden year
Yeah,
for
the
you,
golden
which
birth.
is,
Yeah. I'm
which
glad that my
is
birthday's not on
pretty
like the
special.
7th or something, because like you
Yeah.
turn
A
7, who
hundred. Oh
cares?
yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
28 on the 28th is solid.
Yeah, nothing like sending off a few happy birthday fam texts
Oh
throughout the
yeah.
year.
Well, it's fun.
But
Like,
yeah,
I mean, it's happened to me that like, somebody who like you used to be good friends with or something, you fall off, and the birthday can be a good chance to reconnect with them. And for every, for every platitude of like, oh, like, you hit them up, be like, oh, like we need to get together or something. And, when you don't really intend to, or that happens to you. But
Yeah.
like, the times that like you do choose to do that, it is a good opportunity. It's like a natural point, of reconnection, I think, which is, I think, something that I've felt has become more special the older I've gotten too, because as we all get busier, it's easier for relationships to fall off, not because anything bad happened, but just because lives are moving forward. So it's always cool. I always, yeah, it's fun. It's fun just to like, on our own birthdays, like the people that you hear from that you haven't heard from in a bit. And it's cool to chat, catch up real quick with them.
Oh yeah, people talk about. I mean, I used to always say too, like compliments are the best thing ever. Like it takes nothing. It doesn't cost you anything to be like, yo, nice pants, or something simple like nice
Right.
shoes, and people love it. Birthday, same thing. Like just say happy birthday. And like the other day, I had a friend who had a birthday, and I had a busy day. It was like 10:30, 11. Like fire off that text. Do not miss the opportunity to say happy birthday, especially because people like to be the first one in the group chat, happy birthday, and everybody
Yeah.
chimes in, and
It's
you
a
look at them like,
waterfall.
yeah, you look at them like sometimes I always text individually like I don't want to be a part of the group, and or like someone will text like I already said happy birthday, like I'm ahead of the curve, but
Oh yeah.
it doesn't matter what time it is, because that's another thing. You get a lot of birthday texts in the beginning of the day. Nothing better than trickling in maybe a few West Coast people are saying happy birthday at the end of the day, but like finishing your day with a birthday text, not a bad thing. So like, don't, if you have the time, even belated birthday, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's not, don't try not to do that, but like, you know, always fire off that text because, I just think if I enjoy it, then most people will also enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like when I get
Hmm.
the text, I'm always like, oh, that was very, took the time to text me, even though it's so simple, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I got a bunch of friends. So Logan's birthday is tomorrow, the 26th.
Right.
One of my best friends growing up, I played basketball with, his birthday has always been, always been. It is the 27th. He was always one day older than me as we were growing up. Obviously, our birthdays are the 28th. And Scott Simmer's birthday was the other day. There's a ton of birthdays in September, and that's also why I love the month. It just feels like so many, because it's 9 months after the New Year, so we're New Year's babies in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and yeah, man, I love sending out happy birthday texts. So we got a big week. A lot of people are celebrating, and it's like I'm celebrating for them, they're celebrating for me, and why
Yeah.
not?
Just a joyful time.
Um, Yeah, 30. I've definitely been thinking like, I mean, it's hard to make every birthday special, like really special, but like, I think I'm going to be a big decade guy, like 30, 40, 50, 60, like, you know, like we got to do something big. And I've been thinking I remember like 5 years ago, I was like, I want to have something big for my 30th. And then we kind of talked about this a year ago and was like, yeah, we need to do this, do something, kind of fell into place and pretty excited about it. I mean, very excited about it. Been thinking about it a lot. Um, and yeah, it's gonna be great. So I think decade birthdays are pretty important because
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
I
important.
don't know. Yeah, it is important. So um, I don't know. I don't have a ton. I don't have a ton to say today. It's just it is. It does. It creeps up. All of a sudden, I've been saying like I turned 30 at the end of the month. I turned 30 at the end of the month. Yesterday, I was saying to somebody was like, yeah, I turned 30 at the end of the month.
It's
And I
like
was
it
like,
is
oh
the
shit,
end of the month.
I turned 30 Saturday.
Yeah.
Like it's
Hmm.
Saturday. So,
Yeah.
uh, it comes up quick. That's for
Yeah.
sure. You're
It'll be
right.
good.
Time
Yeah.
definitely speeds up as we get older.
I agree, and like I feel like the more years go by, like the less time I have to devote to thinking about things like this. But I'll have a 6 hour flight later today, and obviously like our actual birthdays being together, and I think we're gonna do some camping and some hiking that'll definitely be ripe grounds for some reflection, for some thoughts about it, because it's important to think about this, and you gotta think about where you're going, where you've been, where you are, where you want to go. And I think birthdays are always a good kind of line in the sand and a natural checking in point for those types of things. Just like a reminder to be intentional about like where your life is going. Because like I feel like for so much of our lives, it's just like, I'm growing up, and like when I grow up, I want to do this and, X, Y, Z. And it's like, we're here now. There's a Bruce Springsteen quote. He did an interview, I think, for 60 Minutes in the 90s. And he's like, I think he was maybe a little bit older than us. Obviously, he's probably in his 40s or something. And he's like, you get to a point in your life where you're not waiting for the man that you're going to become. You better start being the man that you want to be. And I think about that the older I get, where it's high time to begin being the person who you wanted to be and who you aspired to be, and being a good person and good person to the people around you, and being a positive asset. I think a positive influence on those that you interact with, and even those that you don't, or those that you will. It's important to think about those things and make those intentional decisions.
Yeah. There's always time to make a change, be that person, and no better time than now.
Absolutely.
So maybe we'll have some more thoughts after we spend some time together, probably talk about something.
Yeah.
But let's wrap this up with a segment that we all love.
I got a plane to catch.
The songs of the week. Yeah, we both have a plane to catch. Exactly. I got to finish packing.
Oh, yeah. Have you finished?
Packing. I mean, a lot of the stuff is in the bag from last week when I traveled. So I just need to, I know this is the easy part. You just throw everything you have back into the bag. It's not the initial pack.
Yep. I'm never worried about the pack up. Yeah, the initial pack's the worst.
The initial pack paralysis.
Yeah. Yep. I did that last night, and then I'm like, whatever I have, like, it's so much easier. Like when we're out there, like whatever you brought, you just got to put it back in the bag. There's no choice involved.
Yep. You just need to make it fit. It's funny when you're packing too, and that like you're trying to run through the mental checklist. Like, what do I need? Do I need this? And all of a sudden you get to a point probably really late, and you're just like, whatever I have, I have. Like whatever I don't, I don't.
Yeah.
And you just like, all of a sudden you're out.
Yep. I agree.
So yeah, let's do song of the week. This will be important because we do have some transit. So we're going to be listening to a lot of music.
Oh yeah.
Chris, do you want to go first? I see.
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, I sent it over to you so you can add it to the playlist. But my song of the week will be Untitled by Pearl Jam. There's a few versions on Spotify from different bootlegs over the years, but I think the initial release of it was from Live on Two Legs. So that'll be my song of the week, for reasons that I mentioned earlier, with it really affecting me at the show that I saw very recently. So yeah, it's my song of the week. I'm a Pearl Jam guy through and through, and I'm happy that those moments at that show reminded me of that and reinforced that feeling that I have. So that's my song of the week.
Awesome. My song of the week, I was in the record store the other day. I tried to went and pick up a Delicate Steve record at the local record store. I've been wanting to go there. Actually, little funny story. So I went to coffee with somebody, and then I was leaving, and there's nothing to speak on. No news.
Saw me raise my eyebrow right there.
So, and I walked out, and there's a barber shop that just went in next to it. I was like, I do need a haircut. I'm leaving for a trip. I was like, I'm gonna get my haircut. So I walked in. I was like, do you have walk-ins? Like, no, you can make it online. I was like, what? But it was like I had a half hour to burn. I was like, all right, I'm going to shoot over to the record store. So I went over, and of course I went to the record store, and they have 3 barber chairs, and they're cutting hair in the record store. I was like,
excellent.
Damn it.
Problem solved.
I had booked the appointment at the other place,
man,
though, and I was like,
they got you.
I didn't want to have to potentially pay a fee for canceling, even though I just made it. So then I was in the record store, and I was like, I looked for some Delicate Steve, and I looked around for Goose, but I didn't have it. And I wanted to pick up something, but I ultimately did not, because I couldn't really decide. I saw there was a King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard section, and I was looking through their albums, and they are, I don't know how much Giz do you know, Chris?
Not much.
I've been following them, very, very loosely following them, like just seeing them, been on the radar, heard buzz, and then they've gotten pretty big. I feel like last year, the last 6 months, we've seen them a lot more. Mm-hmm. And so I was like looking, they had an album come out in June, I think. And, so I was looking at looking at the albums they had, and they have a ton of albums out. Like they really are putting out music. They're super versatile. They have like heavy metal, jam. I mean, they're a jam band. They're very progressive. I think they're from Australia, and they do things differently. They, they're just kind of crazy. Like people really like them. And so the song that I'm choosing is off of their 2022 album, Omnium Gatherum, which is on the one list I saw it was voted as their best album. But it's so vast and different that it's not so simple as like a rock band with these jams and stuff.
Right.
So Omnium Gatherum 2022, the King Gizzard and the Wizard. The opening song is called "The Dripping Tap," and it is 18 and a half minutes long. And it is quite the jam. It really takes you everywhere. It's like these songs are journeys, these are big journeymen, and it is a lot of fun to listen to. And I think it's perfect for a flight because, it's a good time to, listen to a couple hours of music. So it might as well be a 20-minute song.
Yeah, you have time to burn.
The Dripping Tap. And nice, it's going to be good. So
I'm going to add that one to my list for today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that wraps up episode 184. Thank you so much for everybody for following along and listening. If you're still here, you are a real one, and you're probably a Patreon supporter. And if you're not, it's a good time to change that. And like you said, we will do an episode on anything. Pretty much, there's not many things that we'll definitely do it. Why not?
Absolutely.
So Chris, if you don't have anything else to say, man, I'll see you later today.
Yeah, man, I'll see you later today. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch up with y'all next week. But thanks again, and rock and roll.
Rock and roll, guys. Peace.
See you, everybody.